You have to truly believe in the magic.
What's up, and welcome to Orlando Magic UK's podcast, Penny for Your Thoughts. We are back. So let's just have a see who's with us today. We have a new face that you'll be able to see if you're watching on YouTube, and we have a familiar one also. So we have the pride of Sunderland, Mr. Gary Craggs. How you doing, Gar?
I'm really glad that you said there that we've got a familiar one and not an old one, because I was about to get in the car and just head down to Cardiff. How are you, G? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm excited to be back, as you could probably tell. I do love talking about the Orlando Magic. We also have Mr. Drum from Plymouth, who is going to be stepping in to the team. We are very grateful for his assistance. He'll be doing a lot of the editing, but he will be making appearances like he is today. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I have to say, if you'd said old, I would assume you were talking about me, not Gary, but there you go. Then I'd be in the car coming down to Cardiff as well.
I've got his address if you want it.
Good stuff. Yeah, so as you can see, we're back. We are missing two familiar faces. Paul was hoping to be on tonight, but unfortunately he's under the weather, so hopefully he'll be joining us back on the next podcast. And Mikey, so you had a chat with Mikey, didn't you, Gary? What did Mikey say his excuse was for tonight?
Well, the one I can repeat in the PG version is that he's I think probably too upset or angry or just past it with where and what the Magic are turning out right now. Is probably the best way of putting it.
Yeah, but he's not gone away.
Nope.
We'll see him again, but it may be.
Are we saying he's a fair weather fan? And he's only a fan now if it's all going well. Sorry, Mikey, but
we're saying it's a PG show, perhaps. And no, Mikey, I think he's travelled to Orlando. He's watched a few games over there, and I think he had bandwidth with his. Plus, he is incredibly busy, and that is the real story. He's incredibly busy, and I don't think he really wants to devote his time to what's been seen recently, shall we say?
Yeah, that's fair. So let's kick this off with a bit of positivity. So a couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago now, Drum was in Germany to watch the Magic face the Memphis Grizzlies in Berlin. So you were on the ground there, Drum. Give us a flavour of the welcome, the fanfare that you had whilst in Berlin.
Yeah, it was a really good time. I mean, it goes without saying that the people there were great. Had a really, really good time in Germany. Arrived the day before. They're like huge posters. I mean, we're talking like sort of 20 stories high sort of pictures of Franz and Mo in parts of the city. I think it was Visit Orlando had put together something, the Keats, the sort of, which means neighborhood apparently in Germany. So the Orlando Keats, the Orlando Hood, and I apologize to anyone who does live in a hood. They'd sort of done this sort of drop-in place, which was on 2 floors, which was really fun, really cool. Lots of things to do, meet and greets. I met Mikhail Petrus there, and had a meet and greet, got his autograph, which was very cool. They also had something really cool where it was like a piece of skirting or something, and it was blue, and you signed it in white. And apparently that is going back to Amway to be put up somewhere in Amway. So kind of cool that my signature is going to be somewhere in Amway, along with probably about 2,000 or 3,000 others. But it was really well put together. It was really fun. There was free pizza, which is always a good thing as well. And then the game, well, everyone kind of knows how the game went. But it was really great meeting up with a lot of English fans were out there as well. I met up with Sean and JC, who we had a drink the night before, along with Dean and his boy, which was really cool. and also shout out Sean as well for getting me into the O2 when the queues at the London O2 were so hideous. I don't think I'd have actually got to the beginning of the game were it not for Sean getting me through the American Express queue. So big shout out to him as well. But yeah, the whole vibe was really great. The game started, as we all know, with the huge deficit within a matter of sort of within the first quarter, and then we sort of slowly clawed our way back. But with no Ja Morant, you kind of looked at it, and although we got the win, which was really good, and I have to say, I think I would have been enormously hacked off since it's the PG version. Of traveling to Germany and then traveling to London and seeing two really bad losses, or just two losses to that team. So I really felt for the fans who'd come over some had come over from America to come and see the London game, and only the London game, only to see kind of what happened there. But the writing was on the wall. I felt although we got the win, it was so subpar with a no Ja Morant Grizzlies, and we still only just scraped the win. But hey, at least I got to see the dunk, which was just stunning, and I was actually about 4 or 5 rows back from the actual hoop, so it was very cool. But yeah, it was just a great time. We all met up before the game with some of the Six Man Show guys. Loads of fans from all over the world were there. Hank was there, inevitably, friend of the pod. And yeah, it was a fabulous vibe. And what was also fun coming over from the flight, because there's only so many flights, I guess, from London to Germany the next day. I ended up in the sort of same cafe bit as Franz and Mo's mum, and there's loads of stories of other people sort of being on a flight and finding themselves sitting next to like I don't know, Dirk Nowitzki or someone like that. Just like so many legends were on these flights and important people. It was really cool. It was really fun. So yeah, that's my sort of German trip, I guess.
It's fantastic. Yeah, and you mentioned the game. I remember watching it at home, and the first half deficit, and I was thinking, I'm so glad I didn't pay 300 quid for a ticket for this one. I'm glad I'm going on Sunday to the London one. But so moving on to the London one, other than the game, Gary, did you have a good weekend?
I really enjoyed the meetup in TGI's beforehand. The social side of it was very nice. It was good to obviously see people, like see drums, see other people who we've met before at meetups. And obviously I was really happy to hook up with Cortez and Yadi, who were there. And it was great to see Al and, Kevin and Jonathan from the Sixth Man joining us. But yeah, I enjoyed the social side of it. It was just a shame we had to go to the game.
Yeah, it really was. It really was, wasn't it? But yeah, all in all, it was a good weekend of catching up with good familiar people who obviously got the same interests as us, which is fantastic. The game, let's just forget about it. But yeah, shout out to Cortez and Yadi and the Six Man Show guys and Al all coming over from the States, for one game.
Ricky as well.
Ricky, yeah, of course. We go over to Orlando ourselves, and we try and do a 2-week stint, get as many games as possible. So to come over for one game is quite an ask, really, and it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, and Sabrina and everybody's there as well. It was a big turnout. It was great. Like the atmosphere in TGI's beforehand, you couldn't have really asked for any more friendly or welcoming if you were a Magic fan. It was lovely to see lots of people, varieties of Magic shirts, varieties of stories, people just chatting. Sometimes people who'd only spoken on a screen, or maybe even a WhatsApp group or something. Great.
Yeah, no, it really was. And it's something, we've talked about it since the weekend. We'd like to do something again, like we did the Mansfield trip a couple of seasons ago, where we all just met up, had a few beers and a curry, and like last weekend. Obviously, there's a Manchester game next season. Who knows who will be playing? I doubt it'll be the Magic.
Hopefully
But
not us.
yeah. We haven't got the best record in the last two, have we? Obviously with a Raptor game back in 2016. But no, there we go. Right, let's go on to the state of the Magic. It's that topic you've all been waiting to hear about. So as it stands, we sit in 8th place at 25 wins and 24 losses, 3.5 games back of Philadelphia in 5th, and 4.5 games back of Cleveland in 4th. Obviously, the team isn't playing that well at the moment. Give me your summary of it, Drum. How do you feel about it?
I think you kind of said it. It's kind of bizarre. I mean, if you go back to the expectations we had at the beginning of the season, everyone's really excited. Everyone's kind of, the team themselves are talking about championships. They're talking about, stuff that we've never heard them talk about, and they're raising the ante in a way that they've never done before. And yeah, here we are, and with something that very definitely wrong. No one can seem to actually pinpoint what it is. Is it coaching? Obviously, is it the players? Is it Paolo not leading, not having experience? That everyone has their own ideas, and of course, the trade deadline. Everyone's expecting a move of some kind, but I'll leave it to you guys to discuss that one. But no one seems to know what's happening or why, and it is disappointing. It's massively disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sort of issues have been, the team, the makeup of the team. A lot of people are saying, is there enough movement? Is there enough ball movement? Is there enough shooting? And we thought we'd address that issue, getting Desmond Bane back in the summer, obviously adding the shooting part. But it just feels like we're really struggling defensively, points coming from the bench. And the output from the bench in particular has been very disappointing. When you look at some of the teams of years gone by, coached by Mosley, we really did kick on with, when we had Joe Ingles and Mo Wagner in the pick and roll, other players. How about you, Gary? What's gone wrong, mate?
Right. I'm going to have a little bit.
A while.
You might be a while. I've got my pen, got my notes. The first thing I put down was I think we're a shambles. If I'm being brutally honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So if anyone's sitting here and they get upset about, loving the Magic and thinking I don't love the Magic, I do love the Magic, but I also really don't like what I'm seeing right now. This is my thoughts. What is our identity, and who are we? Because I don't know. I've got no idea what we are. As we've said, we were previously a defensive team. We knew who we were. We would get the stops. We would dictate play at our pace. We aren't that anymore. We're not a good defensive team. We're not a good offensive team. We've got 0 All-Stars. We've got 0 representation at All-Star weekend. As it stands, we're recording during trade deadline, but we've really got 0 moves to talk about that's making us any better. We're nearer to the 11th seed than we are the 6th seed or home court. We seem to be cutting to avoid tax on the deadline rather than improving the team, which tells me that is our key interest, and maybe this season hasn't been what we've thought. If we're now looking at cutting rather than adding, and I'm not trying to spend anyone's money, by the way, the vibes have been off since the first game of the season, and you could put that down to chemistry. If Jamal Mosley was we all know our industries, so when you're in your business, you will talk to fellow like-minded people in your business. And if you're Mose, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, well, I've never had a healthy team. And you know what? There's an argument for that, and that's fair enough. But the vibes are all over the place. And if you don't believe that, look at the body language of Jalen Suggs in the press conference after the OKC game, and that just says it all. And then remember, that's Jalen Suggs, who's the heart of the team. We're a team where we had Jonathan Isaac, who was one of the elite rim protectors in the league. People seem to be able to go to the rim at will when they want, because we're not going to stop them. We are not dynamic We are slightly better at shooting the three, but we're still rubbish at shooting the three overall. We're just not absolutely rubbish. So there's been a slight improvement there. And yes, I'm going to go back. We are injured, but then look at the Boston Celtics and look at what they're doing and look at what we are doing and consider where we are and where they are. And that is my rant. And if anyone's having their sugar puffs or Wheaties right now or whatever it is you're eating and I've ruined your breakfast, I apologize. But that's how I see it.
We're going to need a new section, aren't we? Instead of ref rant, we'll have Gary rant.
Well, I'm sitting currently in a psychiatric ward filming this one after watching the first quarter of the OKC game, and I just went, "No, you're all right. I've seen enough."
It was diabolical, that game, and it's been a real pattern, especially in the last 3-4 weeks. You can't spot teams 20, 30-point leads in the NBA. We've come back on 2 occasions, once against the Grizzlies and, the Raptor game last Friday, which was, a decent comeback. But why can't we string 48 minutes together on a consistent basis? Certainly a big issue. You touched upon coaching then. Obviously, we brought in Joe Prunty. And God Shamgod, have they made an impact at all? You look at the development perhaps of Anthony Black. That's the one positive shining light from this season. Capped with that, spectacular play in Berlin. But he's not a superstar, is he? He's on the road to. He's a capable starter. He could put up 20 points per game. So, I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. There are some small positives. Anthony Black's development, perhaps, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything else you'd add to that?
Drum, I'll let you go first if you want. I don't mind.
Now, boys?
Complete silence. I mean, I have to say I'm really struggling to find. I mean, the only thing I can say that I think is positive is that still on paper, this team looks really good. There's no reason why these guys should not be gelling and should not be actually doing well. And I love Mose. I know there's there's also a stalwart number of people who say that he definitely should not go until we finish the season. It'll happen in the off season. But there's a part of me that goes, actually, if we get a new coach in, they'll need some time. You still kind of aren't going to be doing well this season, but they'll need some time to actually get themselves in, to get their identity going, all that. There's no point in starting that in the off season. You got then a short training camp. You're into the new season. That's no time to actually get a new regime in place. So much as I like Mose, and not to make not basically to then expect that everything's going to be all right, because I don't think it will be. If I'm being honest, I think we will make the playoffs. We'll cobble it together in the way that we kind of have been all season. If you look at the results, yeah, it's nothing like what this team should be achieving, but nonetheless, it's it's still not quite on the completely disastrous side. There is a glimmer that pull this team together, and we'll get some results, and we'll get into the playoffs, and we'll have at least got there. But for my money, I would say that the change does need to come sooner rather than later in order to give them time to prepare for the next season. That's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah, that's a fair observation there. Obviously, Franz Wagner is absolutely massive to this, and rushing him back for Berlin, in hindsight, wasn't a good thing. And he's missing again, and chances are now he's not going to be back until after the All-Star break. Yeah, you don't really know where to go with it, do you? So let's look at the trade that the Magic made today. So today, overnight. So they moved Tyus Jones. I'm just so glad I didn't buy a Tyus Jones jersey. And 2 second-round picks to the Charlotte Hornets for cash considerations. So we've had that image ready, haven't we, Gary, for a very long time, because it's something we whip out every year. obviously, you touched upon it a second ago, saying it's obviously just to get under the tax apron, and it's going to help with flexibility going forward. It just shows how bad, really, doesn't it? Tyus Jones has been this season. The fact you've got to attach 2 second-round picks for essentially a salary dump. We were all very hopeful of Tyus, coming in and giving us the backup point guard role that we, envisioned he could do, given his, assists turnover ratios in the past, being able to knock down a shot, but, shooting 34% from 3 points per game, being a liability on defense, really, it hasn't really cut the mustard. So hopefully now, enter Jace Richardson. What have you seen from Jace that, can give you a bit of encouragement for this season, for the rest of the way?
Can I just go back on something you said there, G?
Of course you can, mate. Yes.
I think anyone who was expecting Tyus Jones to be a good defender hasn't really watched much of Tyus Jones, because he isn't. I think what we expected was a better 3-point shooter than we got. And we have seen a guy there who does take care of the ball. So even with the Magic, he still took care of the ball. But anyone expecting him to defend, I would think you're sadly mistaken that was going to happen. My bigger worry with the Tyus Jones signing was, I actually think the front office have been pretty good at drafting. Like, let's be honest, on what they've picked up, Suggs, Wagner, even like Cole Anthony, in the mid-round, not a bad pickup at all. Pender in the second round, Jace, Anthony Black looks like he's panning out now. Obviously, Paolo speaks for himself, etc. When we've spent money on free agents, you've got Al-Farouq Aminu, which worked out as well as you thought it would work out. KCP, who we had to actually pay to get off the books. We've had to attach that Memphis deal was partly to get rid of that deal with the draft picks. One of those picks had to be for that. And then we've had to throw in second rounders to get rid of Tyus, essentially.
Who's on and expiring.
Yeah. So in terms of free agent signings, as good as we've been with the actual drafting, we've been as bad of you making use of free agency. So that worries me. With Jace, at least he's exciting. At least he plays 100%. And for where we drafted him at, he looks to be an asset, high energy guy. Looks as though he could be a little bit of a spark off the bench. He's small, but he's tenacious. Give you a little bit of that Cole Anthony energy, I suppose.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with that. And, Noah Pender's been pretty good as well. You touched upon, drafting well. Obviously moving a couple of second round picks in order to move up and grab him. So as it stands at the moment, and we don't believe the Magic have made any more trades, because literally the deadline passed about the time we recorded now, about half an hour ago. We're looking at the buyout market and basically filling out these 2 roster spots. So the Magic currently stand at 13, I believe, players, and we need to basically sign, I think is it 2, but we've got 14 days to do so. So obviously, there's been a couple of trades going on over the course of the last couple of days. In fact, I haven't seen a trade deadline like it. It's been absolutely wild. I'll just shout out a couple of sort of trades that have occurred that, might mean that, the East gets more difficult for the Magic. The Cavs have just basically gone and put all their chips in. They've gone for Schroeder and Keon Ellis, trading DeAndre Hunter to the Sacramento Kings. They've got James Harden trading Darius Garland to the LA Clippers. Who else has made some moves? Nikola Vucevic, a favorite of ours, is unfortunately gone to the Boston Celtics and will be wearing that awful green colour. He's traded for Anthony Simons who's gone to the Bulls. Ayu Dosunmu has gone to the Minnesota Timberwolves from the Chicago Bulls. The Hawks have been busy getting Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis. Philly have traded Jared McCain to OKC for 4 picks. Gosh, there's so many, isn't there? The Wizards have got Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell to pair with Trae Young. So they're a bit more excited now, trading away Bagley, Middleton, and some picks. So let's just have a quick think of the buyout market, and a couple of players that sort of come to mind. Chris Paul, he got moved to the Raptors. We expect him to possibly be a free agent. Malik Beasley, Corey Joseph, Pat Connaughton, Alex Burks, Alex Len, Daniel Tice, Lonzo Ball. So I'll come to the both of you. Are there any there that you sort of think, right, I'd like him?
Markel Fultz.
Good man. What a good man. I didn't pay him to say that either.
I hate to
didn't.
tell you, Markel's gone over the Rainbow Bridge. He's not coming back. Sorry.
It wasn't the jersey over my shoulder there, was it, Trevor? I gave you the nose.
I mean, yeah, it's that whole thing of I'm not sure it's kind of what we want. It's what Weltman is thinking, and he's got some roster spots to fill. I'm not convinced. I think it's kind of what Gary was saying, that he's at the moment they're just getting under the tax, and I'm not sure they're writing the season off, but I don't think they're looking to make big trades. It's not what Weltman does.
No.
And the trades that he does make, I mean, sorry to go back a bit. The fact is, he made a really, really good trade with the Bain trade. On paper, looks fantastic. You bring in 2 shooters, 3 shooters. So, and this is a history that we have. It's not just those 2 who suddenly seem totally unable to hit the 3. You know, this seems to be something that happens with almost everyone that we bring in, that we're excited that, someone can actually hit the 3, and they just don't. And there's something, again, sort of fundamental there as to why is that? Because that trade was good. And it's in a way a shame that we've kind of pulled that one apart because it didn't work. But it's almost tempting to think, was that actually necessarily a good idea? Could we have actually kept the team together? I know it would have kept us over the tax, but there would have been other people we could have get rid of, rather than someone that we actually traded for who just hasn't been up to the mark because of possibly something else that's going on, not the fact that, that they've suddenly lost their skill. I mean, that's just so unlikely. So it begs the question for me as to why, if we make a good trade, it doesn't matter who we bring in of these guys that you've just, you've been talking about, there's a good chance that they just won't perform given our previous experience. So why is that?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who
knows? There's a,
well,
there's a magic killer. There's a magic killer on that list, Alec Burks. He can shoot the ball at Kia Center. We've seen that. Chris Paul there. Okay, he might be. I think he's about 40 odd, still younger than me, but he'd be an absolute voice. And I know we've got a WhatsApp group. I know Gary and Mikey have been saying Chris Paul, and Paul and myself have been a bit like maybe not. But end of the day,
I'm not in a WhatsApp group. I'm just going to throw that out there.
not a WhatsApp group. Sorry, mate. On iMessage, and it's probably got to that time now. We need a veteran in the locker room who's going to tell people straight, this is your role, stick to it, and this is the way you're going to be able to win. Obviously, he hasn't got a ring, but he's won playoff series, etc. I think you need a big myself. So obviously, there's Daniel Tice there, who's got the German connection with the Wagner boys. Put a call in, France. And I like Alex Len. Alex Len's always kind of bullied us, when he's played for the Kings, when he's played for the Hawks, a youthful body that you can throw in there. But then have we got too many centres then? We haven't moved off Goga Bitadze. and then you've got Mo Wagner, who's obviously still not 100%, and he looks a bit leggy watching, the games. Hopefully he'll be able to return to, the Mo Wagner we've known and loved the last couple of seasons. It would be interesting to see, who else is sort of cut loose from the other trades. Chris Middleton, perhaps. I don't know. You're looking at teams maybe Dallas who, aren't going to be going for it and might just want to cut these guys loose to give younger players more of a shot. But I like what you said, Drum. I'd get Markel in straight away, my son.
Well, he'd be cheap. It would work.
Yeah, it'd be a minimum.
Well, if he'd work for a tube of Pringles, probably he might have a shot. But I think from the names you said there, I think Chris Paul would be the guy I would bring in. But I don't think we're going to do it for the money that Chris Paul would want.
But he's still getting paid, though, isn't he, on his current contract because he's been waived.
Is he going to come into Orlando though as well? And walk into that locker room if there is a problem, like if there's a word around the league that it's not a happy locker room, is that where you're going to spend the last few months of your career at? Are you going to take that stress? Daniel Tyus on paper, but then he's 6'8", and if we're looking for big bodies, he's this undersized centre, which we already have.
Yeah.
And because we haven't moved on from Goga, I don't think we're going to go for a centre. And Chris Middleton's the name that jumps out, but then there's this idea of 3-point shooters and injuries as well. Like the analogy is why do I like Des Bain's sort of been finding a little bit of rhythm, and I think he's been okay, Desmond Bain, for us. But the analogy is of a striker in football when you're snatching at chances, or the next one's not coming along. Do you actually start missing more because you're in your own head? Is it a thing in Orlando where players are in their head about us being a bad 3-point shooting team?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. We've got better. And I was on a pod last week, the Shooters Lounge, and I was going through the figures, and we were 30th last year. We're 29th this year. We've gone up from like 31% to 34%. So, you take a swing, you give all those assets up, you get Bain. I love Desmond Bain. He's probably my favorite player on the team currently. I like what he brings. I like his his attitude, his demeanor, and I like the fact he throws some opponents on the floor. Do you know what I mean? I just like it. You just need that sometimes.
But
Sometimes he goes a bit too over the top. I get that, but I just like the fact that you got a bit of an enforcer.
who's your favourite right now, Drum?
AB. I mean, AB does it for me most times. I mean, I just love the way he's come on. This season has been a revelation, and he was improved considerably last season. So it's been just lovely to see him come on and play the way that he has been. And as I say, just having seen the dunk for real and all that, he's the man for me right now.
Myself, Gary, who's stepped into Cole's shoes?
This season, Anthony Black.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's playing the game with passion. He's exciting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, good choice. Very good choice. Yeah, right. So then, obviously there's been a lot of deadline day trades. Is there any trade and any jump from any team that you think puts them head and shoulders above the rest? Do the moves that Cleveland make perhaps make them favourites now in the East? Or is there a particular trade that you like, a sleeper move?
Do you want me to take that, or Drum?
Only I'd just say that the Cavs trades is obviously for me the kind of winner in terms of what it looks like. They have done a tremendous job there of strengthening the team and filling the gaps. And I think that's very obviously the one for my money that you will just see the biggest improvement as a result. And I just personally gutted that Vooch has gone to Boston. That's I can't get over that. Boston were, not that good a team, and suddenly they got Vooch, and I just feel that for some reason that suddenly that actually might make the difference. That's probably says more about how I feel about Vooch than I do about Boston. But yeah.
What about you, G?
Yeah. The Cavs. Yeah. It's a lot to give up in trading Garland for Harden, and basically they've got a window, haven't they? They've got maybe a year or 2 years, I think, of Donovan Mitchell, and they're basically putting all their chips in. They're going after Harden. They're not sitting on Garland. They're getting somebody else that, when Mitchell's not on the floor, a capable scorer in Harden, someone who can see the floor, get that open pass. I think Mitchell will get a lot more open shots now with the defenses sort of honing in on Harden. And what with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and the extras in Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. And in fairness, they drafted quite well as well. I can't remember the name of the kid, but when we played them a couple of weekends ago, he couldn't miss from three.
Tyson.
That's the one.
It was last season before last, wasn't it? So last season, sorry.
Yeah, so I think the Cavs are the team to beat in the East now. Obviously, the Knicks have made a minor deal in getting Alvarado, is it, from New Orleans. Boston, you touched upon earlier, Gary. You said, why are they still winning? And it's the culture there, isn't it? And unfortunately, I don't like the Boston Celtics at all. But they've stepped into Jason Tatum's, shoes. And I was speaking to Mikey earlier today. They've got players who've bought in. They crash the boards. They play defense, hands up. They get to their spots. They let Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard do their things, and that's why they're successful, and that's why they're third in the East at the moment. So, yeah, it just sucks to be us at the moment. How about you, Gar?
I'm quite worried, actually. I know I'm not very happy about what I've seen, and at some point, we're going to say here that Franz Wagner is going to step back on the court. There's no way, unless he had a broken leg, that he wasn't played in that Berlin game. There's no way he was going to be denied that. It was obvious that he would play the game. He's going to step foot back on the court, but we're back to the old thing of when the Orlando Magic get healthy, which is kind of what we've been saying for how long?
Since ever.
Me and Drum didn't have beards, and we were saying that, and what I mean?
I don't think Paul was a fan of the Magic when we didn't have injuries.
But this is a problem, because hypothetically, when are we going to be injury free? Is Suggs going to be again? Is it going to be Paolo? Who is the next injury up? And it's worrying. I shouldn't be saying that. But when you look at the Eastern Conference, Detroit are a legitimately good team. So we can agree on that. They play like we used to play. You've got the New York Knicks, who have got 2 All-Stars, and then they've got the supporting cast around them, a legitimately good team. Boston are doing this without Tatum. So if we look on a slightly longer lens, because even if Tatum came back now, you're not going to get prime Tatum, as we've seen straight away, like we're seeing now with Mo Wagner. Adrenaline will play a role, then there'll be a dip. Cleveland was saying are the best team in the East. Philly is still where they are. And again, they've got a legitimately good backcourt there and a good coach, I'll add. Toronto, say what you want about them, but they're well coached and they play with heart.
They were impressive.
I don't have a problem with Scotty Barnes, like some people do, right? But I'm not saying anyone on this podcast, or anyone in particular when I say that. But if you look on Magic Twitter doesn't like Scotty Barnes, and Raptor Twitter doesn't like Paolo, right? I know even Paul's not a huge fan of Scotty Barnes. And if he was sat here to say that, that's fair enough. But they play with heart, and he's a big reason why they play with that heart. Infectious enthusiasm. Miami and Atlanta are at least equal to us right now, and we shouldn't be saying that because we've got a better team than Miami.
Yeah, we shouldn't be in the playing cup with them. No.
But then when you look, next season you're going to add Zubac to Halliburton in Indiana. What Indiana have is a top end of the East team. So have they then jumped above us after the Bain move? Charlotte at 8-2 before they did the Kobe White trade. And you've got LaMelo Ball talented. What his heart's like, we don't know. Knuppel, who's been great, Brandon Miller. Then they've got solid players like Bridges and Kalkbrenner, and they seem to be fairly well coached. I'm not a huge fan of Anthony Davis, but when you look at that lineup for the Wizards, if he's fit, which is an Orlando Magic, if he's fit, they hypothetically, when you're adding in Sarr, Koulibaly, apart from Trae Young, defensively, they look very, very strong. It's just how, if Anthony Davis breaks a toenail or something like that, right? So I'm looking at that, and I've gone from a team where I'm saying on paper we should be a contender to like, actually, we're in the 8 to 10 spot again because of this trade deadline and because of what we've shown. So I'm like fairly worried actually right now. And unfortunately, and I'm saying unfortunately because I like Mosley as a guy. I do think he seems a really nice bloke, but the only thing now the trade deadline's passed and we're not going to spend money, I think, on someone who's going to make a huge difference, is Mosley will be the guy who'll pay with his job, rightly or wrongly. I'm not in that locker room. I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to say somebody should lose their job, but not in that locker room. That is basically the only card the Magic hold to make a difference this season is on Jamal Mosley. That is it. And then what you're talking about after that is breaking the team up. There's nothing else left.
No. And you know what the stance is going to be? We need to have a full season of these players all playing together. The stat was, I think, Paolo, Franz, and Suggs played 17 games together. All of, I can't even remember what the timeline was, but it's not happened very often. You chuck Bain in there. You've got a very capable 4 and, Wendell at the 5 to round it out. And as a starting 5, it's as good as...
You got Anthony Black. So.
But you've got to pay Anthony Black as well now.
Well,
season
I think
after next.
Anthony Black's not going to go out that team because he plays basketball games.
He does. You're not wrong.
I think so. I'm just going to say that we were going back at the beginning of the pod, about the identity of the team, and I think that the very noticeable difference is that Boston, dare I say it, are that kind of scrappy, they're just out to win games. They knew that they were weak, but what the hell, we're going to go out there, we're going to win, we're going to do, and that's really, really worked for them. Exactly the same way it's worked for us for the last couple of seasons, that we were the underdogs and we just somehow kept winning in a way that, knocked people's expectations. But the moment at the beginning of the season we said, hey, we're a contender, I think that is where the locker room mentality changed, and that suddenly they came on almost with a not a belief that they were contenders, but what's the word, they felt that they already had the right to be considered contenders without necessarily actually having to play the games. That's what changed. They came out without that same grit, that same will to just die for every ball, to make everything count, to do the bell plays, whatever you want to call it. And I think they're now confused as to why it's not working.
Are they even ringing the bell? Because I haven't heard about this bell for a very long time. Do you know what I mean?
I've got a question, guys. When was the last time that you watched an Orlando Magic post game or a walk off or anything like that where you legitimately thought they're having a good time here?
It's going back a while. It's not this year.
Because you look at it and you go, apart from the Wagners looking happy to be in Berlin, there isn't a lot to go off.
No, I think you're pretty spot on. I'm just going to pull the schedule up and see if I can pinpoint a game where perhaps maybe around Christmas time, we beat Denver. Before then, actually, the game against Portland where Bain hit that 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's going back to early November then.
So you remember when we used to obviously win games, not at the frequency you'd want, but when we started to win a bit, and you'd have people like Cole Anthony giving a shout out, Moores, shout out this player, shout out that player. You don't see that anymore.
No, we don't.
No,
We
and I think
don't.
that's, as I say, because the
Yep, I would agree.
expectation has been
Yeah.
placed on them, is that they're a contending team that's failing,
But
as opposed to last year when they were the little team that did.
But you even when you have like a win, you would have that energy of, oh, like, well played for this guy. Let's be the. You just don't seem to see it. And I agree, the expectations changed. I totally agree with what you said. I just think the little things like that worry me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also totally salvageable.
Yeah.
I think this is coming from a culture. I'm not sure who's responsible. I mean, we had other changes, as we just said, with the training sort of group and a coaching group. Yeah, who knows? Is it Weltman himself who, by making suggestions, that's changed the culture? But something has changed the culture, and I would say more than anything else that is therefore what we're seeing in terms of the players' despondency, and I think it is despondency. They're just doing their best, but I think they're confused. I don't think they understand why they're not winning, because everything on paper looks like they should be.
Yeah.
And they're working hard.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not on the court so much, but they're.
So just looking ahead then, obviously we could play in Brooklyn tonight. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're 25 and 24. So we've got 4 games coming up now before the All-Star game, all at the Kia Center. So Brooklyn coming to town tonight. Then we've got Utah coming on the weekend. Then early and middle part of next week, you've got a home and home series against Milwaukee. So ideally, you're looking to win those 4. Do you agree?
Anything could happen.
It could, but you look at Brooklyn, they've waived Cam Thomas today. He didn't travel with them, and it's just broken since we've been on air now that Cam Thomas has been waived, which is a bit of a crazy one, really. Someone who's got a lot of value. Obviously, Utah have retooled a lot over this trade deadline. Giannis is out for Milwaukee. They've made some moves, so there's 2 games there. So 4 games that could propel you to 29 and 24, which I know there's issues, but 29 and 24 isn't that bad compared to where we've been in the past. Glass half full, Gary.
I'm all for being glass half full. G. I had us down as going all the way this season.
Yeah. Oh, we all did. Eastern Finals.
Look, there's no reason why we shouldn't win those games. There's no reason, but there's also no reason why we shouldn't have beat Memphis in London. And I know you're going to lose games, but in terms of talent on the court, Memphis were not that. By the way, they're a team that's actually breaking things up and figuring things out. And I've said this probably, I said it in the TGIs after the game. That was a game where you're taking the basketball brand of the NBA into Europe, and there were clear Magic fans in that arena and clear Grizzlies fans in that arena, and there were neutrals. If you're a neutral leaving that arena, you're not cheering for the Magic. And
I hate to say this, that there was a little girl sitting next to me during the London game, and she had her Orlando Magic T-shirt on. Halfway through the game, she took it off and announced she was a Grizzlies fan at the end.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It was a golden opportunity for Orlando to make a big splash, and didn't. But
we don't like we
but
should.
Actually, But having said that, there have been a lot of times over the last, since I was, God knows how long I've been a Magic fan now. I haven't bothered to toss it up, but where I thought a 500 team, I'll take that.
Well,
so I would pray at night that maybe we'd reach to be a 500 team. So as you say,
I'll give you some blue sky thinking if you want on that, and it's like we're a better post All-Star team recent history than we have been pre All-Star. There's your positive for you, G and Drum.
Good man.
There's a little
man. And can we have a smile as well, Gaff?
I don't like smiling. It's for losers.
Is that why Paolo doesn't smile?
Well, that he's being a Paolo cut from the same cloth. You never know.
Brilliant, brilliant. So as the NBA as a whole, OKC still the team to beat?
Pretty much. San Antonio.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So you just mentioned your biggest disappointment. So I thought I'd chuck this in you because Gary chucked in into our group what his was, and obviously we are a bit disappointed because the expectation was quite high. So other disappointments in your Magic fandom, guys? Can you point some other ones out for us?
I sent you this on the
You did,
on
you did,
I
you
sent you
did.
this is about the
And I
biggest
remember this season because
biggest disappointment for a Magic team. So this is where this has come from. I sent this to G last night, Drum. I think it was when we signed Juwan Howard, and I wasn't expecting us to win the NBA title, but we were a team that were a first round exit team. T-Mac needed a bit of support with the scoring. You never thought Grant Hill was going to be fit, type of thing. Signed Juwan Howard. I thought that's a pretty reasonable deal. He can give you 18 points a game. Bet presence, you know what you're getting. Maybe we'll sniff the second round this year. Maybe we'll get in the second round and get eliminated 4-1. And we all know what happened after that. So I would have said until this point that
we won the first game of the season that year. We beat the Knicks. The problem is we lost the next 19.
Exactly. So I would say until this point, that was my biggest disappointment. But I actually think this is a bigger disappointment given the talent.
Yeah. And any other disappointments you want to throw in there? Drum, have you got any?
Oh God, I remember I remember telling you this a few days ago that when I was at the London game, I was wearing my number 5 jersey, but with a jacket on.
I rumbled you on this.
Yeah, but what I didn't tell everyone, that was my Mo Bamba shirt. And in a way, that probably is my biggest disappointment. I was so excited. In fact, it was one of the first shirts when I went over to Orlando for the first time. It was the first shirt I bought. I was so excited that he'd signed, and I thought he was going to be amazing. And yeah, we kind of all know what happened there. But yeah, so I guess that's one of my biggest, really.
I almost had a claim to fame on Mo Bamba because I was at the final game of the season when we played the Heat. And Bamba was the Magic number 5 then, because it was before we'd signed Paolo, and we thought Mo was done with the Magic. Then he obviously switched jerseys and he came back for a cup of coffee in the uniform. But the last thing Mo Bamba did when he was walking off the court that season was fist bump me before he went down the tunnel. I had my hand hovering over the top of the thing, and I went, "Oh, well, Bamba's going to fist bump me," and he did. And we thought he was gone, and I was like, "How's this Mo Bamba's last moment in a Magic uniform?" Because he disappeared straight down the tunnel. I would have been a fist bump from me, who was just hanging his fist over the side of the thing when they were walking off. And then he kind of re-signed. I went, "Oh well, there's that claim to fame out the window. That's as good as life gets." How about you, Jay?
I wrote a couple down. That obviously that Juwan Howard season, the 119 start, and then we beat the Suns. And do you remember who was in that team? You had Tyronn Lue, Britton Johnson, Stephen Hunter, and then T-Mac and Juwan Howard. That was disappointing because we got picked at the beginning of the season, so make a bit of noise in the playoffs. Other than that, my second or third season watching the Magic, 1999, we were the 3rd seed. We lost to Philadelphia in the first round. Allen Iverson run rings around us, and that was back when we had Penny and Nick and Horace and Ike Austin.
Yeah.
And it was the first season in the Stars jerseys, so that was pretty disappointing for me. Then obviously we blew it all up. Nick and Penny go in. You had the Dwightmare season. That was just awful.
Wouldn't even go up.
No, I know. So, those. I mean, I don't think I'm probably not as down as perhaps you guys are. just because I know how they can play as a 5, but I totally get it, and I see, you know, the arguments on each side, but you just want to have a bit of consistency and like playing basketball again and want to play for each other, because it just doesn't feel like that at the moment. It just feels like a bunch of individuals going out there, no passing. It's too much one-on-one basketball. You just need to bring the fun back into it again, and having people like Cole Anthony on the sidelines, you know, just makes it fun. I think they've really lost something by losing Cole in the locker room. You know, I think I'd rather just had him, you know, in that 12th, 13th man role, just for being him, you know. And he's got traded today, so, you know, good luck to him in Phoenix, because we all root for Cole Anthony, don't we? Yeah, so I'd probably say those for me, mate. So, I think we're nearly at the end here now of what we had on the agenda. But
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully, with the best will in the world, and I've absolutely had a fabulous time. Thank you, guys. But hopefully, we'll be up to full strength next time. So, so I will be able to gently go back to my back room. But I've had a great time. Thank you all.
No, it's been brilliant having
loved
you
it.
on, mate. Yeah, it's been really, really
Loved it.
cool. So then, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, no doubt. So from all of us, thank you for listening and watching if you're on YouTube. We really do appreciate all your support. Until next time, go Magic.
Hoop shots at lightning speed. Awesome slam dunk. You won't believe. Is it fantasy or is it real? Is it spelled